Coach.
Rolling with the same rotation this week,
Yep. Same rotation, same order.
and then will Dice and Freilich, will they be available this week as well?
See how they feel today. Neither one of them were feeling great last weekend. Probably why you didn't see either one of them. There were going to be some opportunities to get them in there. Dice, and they were very left-handed as well, their lineup. So him not feeling like a 10 was not going to be a great matchup. And Freilich was probably available, but we wanted to give him the weekend to see how he feels this week. And it's nothing real concerning. But I guess it does speak to our depth that we feel like we have on the mound, that we had some guys kind of make their first appearances this weekend and didn't even need to use two guys that were going to be big parts of our bullpen.
I mean, was that just a product, too, just going to set yourself up pretty well earlier in the week?
Yeah, that helps. I mean, your starting pitcher goes 6, the first 2 games of the 4-game set. I mean, that certainly help set you up for success. I mean, I'd point to Tyner Horn as well, being able to get the 3-inning save. That one played out like we hoped it would. Getting some length from some of our other guys kind of helps in the middle innings, and then you go to your leverage guys. I thought Clevenger came in a big spot. Olson obviously wasn't the cleanest, but he got a big punch out there to get the second out of the inning. J-Dub, obviously in the middle innings of Sunday's game. I mean, there was a lot of guys that really contributed, but it certainly helps when you're starting pitchers, at the front of the. That's why they're there. It's to get you deeper into the games, but also if they don't have it that day, you feel like you got some guys that can step in and piggyback off of them.
With Drew, was that kind of how he'd been in the fall?
Yeah, that's what we saw. I mean, there was what we had seen early in the spring that was a little concerning was just the velo was down and the velo on the slider was down, so he wasn't able to kind of get the same finish on his pitches. What you saw this weekend was more 94s up to 95. The slider was more in the 85, 87 range. He's a guy that now he's learned the fastball command part of his game, but he's also a guy that if he's throwing 90, it's not going to be nearly as effective as 94. So it was good to see him back there, and that's what he was in the fall. I mean, we pretty much every time out he was 92, 95 in the fall with an upper 80 slider and a change. So his stuff is trending in the right direction.
Well, I mean, to win a series like that where you set the tone early, you falter Saturday, and then that Sunday game as a result of Saturday means a lot more, and then you're able to finish that off. I mean, what does that do for your group? Yeah,
I think you saw just the toughness of the group and what the challenge was after the tough finish to the first weekend. I think we all saw that we had a lot of interesting pieces of the puzzle and felt like we played at a high level, and even though the record didn't show that, but felt like there was a couple little tweaks that we needed to make to get over the hump. And some of that was mental, some of that was just being a little more aggressive offensively. We were more aggressive on the bases. We executed the offense better. And then you get in those middle innings, that's when you have a chance to run away from people. And so we really liked the way we responded. I thought we showed a lot of moxie. This group did this weekend, and I said it, the day I just want our team to be known as mentally tough, and so you got to be very present. You got to be resilient, to be able to do that.
How do you carry that over to another 4-game series this week?
By being present, by just making today the most important day, even though it's going to be a lighter day. I mean, we got in at 3:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. Yesterday was off, and today is going to be a lighter day, but just making sure that the intent is there. We'll get back on a plane again tomorrow, and just being very, very present. I mean, that's something that's what you have to be mentally tough. Is you can't get too high or too low. You've got to be very, very determined each and every day.
Coach, are the strikeouts a concern?
At the plate?
Yeah.
There's definitely we were hitting after the first, I believe it was the first 4 games of the year, we hit with 2 strikes in 67% of our at-bats. That's an astronomically high number. Usually it's about a flip of a coin every other at-bat. At 50-50 is about college average. So part of that is just being more aggressive early in the count. I felt like we had a lot of 2-strike hits and 2-strike RBI. on Sunday, something we're going to continue to work on for sure. But you can't be hitting with 2 strikes and almost 70% of your at-bats, you're going to strike out. Like that, the stuff is too good in college baseball now. So a lot of that is just being more ready early in the count, which I think we saw some of that this weekend. And, you know, I mean, you have games where you score 11 or 12 runs. I mean, I don't really care how many times you strike out, to be honest. I mean, you're going to have a lot of at-bats. So to answer your question, yes, there are some adjustments that have been made already, and we need to continue to make. But, you know, I just want to score runs. I want to beat the other team and score more runs than the other team. So if we strike out, you know, maybe that's just part of it.
You want your team to be aggressive at the plate.
I want to be aggressive at the plate, and if you're aggressive at the plate, you don't miss your pitches and you don't hit with 2 strikes and 70% of your at bats.
How could Brumbaugh and Silva kind of play to set the table for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, huge weekend for Silva. You know, obviously just moving up from the 9-hole with Overbeek being out. I mean, Overbeek was by far and away our best player the first weekend, and we didn't miss a beat, you know, with Silva moving to the 2-hole. What you get there, I guess you get 2 guys that are kind of, you're in the opposing dugout and you're like, God, those guys are up again. I mean, that's kind of the feeling that you want to have at the top of the order, guys that are just kind of pesky. I mean, he was all over the bases and Brumbaugh was all over the bases. I mean, the thing that's great about those 2 is they've already put enough film out there that doesn't allow the defense to know where to play them. You know, Brumbaugh's hitting balls to the, 4-hole. He's hitting balls in the 6-hole. He's hitting balls up the middle. Silva's doing the same thing. Silva's got the bunt game going. Brumbaugh's already laid down a couple of bunts. So there's some holes out there in the defense where they can't shift you. So both of those guys, you know, they're putting the ball in play. They're putting pressure on the defense, and they're doing a nice job really setting the table.
How do you feel like your team's been generally in those sacrifice sort of situations? And I mean, can pretty much anyone in the lineup lay a bunt down? Because I mean, you know, Stone put one down the third base side against the Shift the other night too.
That started a rally with 2 outs. I think we scored maybe a couple runs that inning just from him laying down that bunt. Again, that's something that goes on the report now. They want to shift him. They know that he can lay down a bunt. So. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen DC bunt this year, I don't think, but we know he can because he's done it in the past. And again, it opens up holes with the defense if they've got to honor it. Kind of joking with Anglem, he's the best batting practice bunter we have, but you know, want to see him get one down in the game. But yeah, it's part of the game, and you know, there's some other things that they can be opened up as well with that besides just a sacrifice, the fake bunt steal, you know, some of that stuff. So. It's definitely a part of what we're attempting to do as a team.
I mean, what's it going to take, do you think, to get Gabe Swanson going again? And then, you know, what does it say about your team that you're able to basically just put someone else in that spot and have them perform at a fairly high level?
Yeah. So, you know, a couple of times last year, Gabe, you know, we'd sit him for a game and then he'd come back with a vengeance. And so he was pressing, you know, I mean, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, he wasn't really dictating his at-bats. Again, talking about just not being aggressive enough. So I wanted him to be able to kind of, sometimes it's good just to get a different perspective, you know, not because I've lost confidence in Gabe or his teammates have lost confidence in Gabe. He's a great player, but, you know, sometimes you need to sit and watch a little bit and realize that you're making the game maybe a little bit harder than it needs to be. So I'm hoping he gains some of that this weekend. And we don't need him to carry us, like to your point. I mean, we just need him to be a piece of a cog in the wheel, not the featured piece, because, you know, we're not going to do it this year with 1 or 2 guys. It's going to be a collective effort. So he's going to be fine. I think just him being able to sit and watch and get that hunger back inside of him. I mean, he's a guy that he came to Nebraska as a walk-on who was recruited by nobody, right? I mean, he's got to have that edge, I think, to be the guy that he can be. And he had nothing to lose last year. And so this year, spotlight's on him a little bit more, just reassuring him that we just need him to be a piece of the puzzle. He'll get going.
Early in the week, but what do you kind of expect to see from Charleston for these 4 games?
Well, they're a lot more right-handed at the plate than we saw with GCU. So maybe some different matchups there. They're very athletic. They've got some guys that can really, really run. I mean, they've obviously gone undefeated up to this point, so they're doing a lot well. They're pitching at a high level. They're swinging the bats really well. They're taking their walks. They're not striking out, and they're used to winning. I mean, they win at I think a 73% clip in that ballpark. So, going to be another really good challenge. And we can't get too high or too low based on one weekend. I mean, we've got to continue to prove ourselves every day.
Thanks, Coach.